Um, Today it's your first tutorial for Quantitative Finance 1, and it's only the only quantitative finance section and the only quantitative finance course that you will take. My role over here is to teach you the investment part of the course. And I want to get you guys prepared, if you so want, to be ready to work in any investment office, being asset management, being wealth management, being alternatives, being liquids, anything. So, who am I? I actually went to the same university that you guys are in right now. I graduated about 3 years ago. Uh, I didn't do finance though. I did economics. And how did I end up in here teaching this, doing finance for my life? I used to work, so my first internship was at a consulting boutique doing data science, and I was doing consulting for asset managers in Canada. So Bank of Montreal, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, and so forth. So about a year and a half after working doing that, I realized, hey, I like consulting, and I really like data science and working with finance data, but I really do want to work in the asset management side of it. So I took a leap. I actually was promoted to analyst a little bit before I decided to leave. So I had to step a little bit down because I had no experience and I was still at university, so nobody would really hire an analyst, right? Something went wrong. Okay, Teams briefly kicked me out. Is there anything you guys didn't hear?
You were still here the whole time.
Okay,
So
great. So where was I? Yeah, so I took a leave into asset management. I went to work at one of the pension funds over here for a couple years. I did equity portfolio management during that period. I was really happy. After graduating university, I stayed there a little bit and then went on to do fund selection. So what is fund selection? It's basically you have the whole spectrum of funds that do any kind of strategy. So let's say inside equity, um, all the managers that invest in the US, but with a growth bias. What does that mean? It means that they invest in businesses that they believe they can grow their margins, they can grow their market share, and grow their business in a fastly manner and sustainable manner as well. So how many managers are there that do this? About 300 or more. So you apply some filters and round, let's say 10 to 15 managers. You do some due diligence, being quantitative and qualitative, and you start interviewing managers. You travel to their offices to see how they work, and you decide on one. And basically I was running a business of about 2.5 billion on assets under advisory when I left. And this last December I went on to work for a single family office, and that's where I am. And currently I'm a portfolio manager for that family office. I do everything from equity, fixed income to alternative assets. And that's a brief story of my life. So I'm going to start taking attendance, and I want you guys to, if possible, turn on your camera and do a brief introduction of what's your name. If you have two names, please tell me one, how to pronounce your name, because I'm very prone to butchering names. Please tell me how to pronounce yours. Second, I want to know if you're working or not and what your career aspirations are, because I really do like to position people into different sides of the market. The market, if you go on to work in investing, it is a very small market over here in Peru. So influences do help a lot. And what else? Yeah, generally that, a little brief introduction about yourself. So since we are not a lot, I'm not going to go through the attendance list. I'm just going to use the teams list. So first of all, I have Abram.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, my name is Abraham. Actually, well, currently I'm not working, and nothing more.
What do you want to do?
In the future, I want to work in portfolio management and do personal investments.
Any asset class in specific?
Stocks.
So equity, okay.
Yeah.
Direct equity investments. All right. Next I have Alejandra, or I've had you before. Is it it is Alejandra, not Carolina, right?
Hola Gonzalo, bueno, estoy en noveno ciclo de la carrera de finanzas y actualmente estoy practicando en el área de planeamiento financiero corporativo.
Do you want to keep on working on financial planning? Do you want to move somewhere else?
Todavía no estoy segura porque como es mi primera práctica, entonces no estoy todavía segura.
Okay, sure. Danitza Safadi.
Hola Gonzalo, ¿qué tal? Sí, es Danitza, estoy en Danitza. Ahorita sí estoy practicando, también es mi primera práctica en el área de finanzas de Procter, pero tampoco estoy segura si me quiero dedicar específicamente al área en la que estoy actualmente, que es más o menos forecast o análisis de como estados financieros, más o menos. Y eso, básicamente.
Okay, just a random fact. Are you related to Nicolás Safadi?
Sí, es mi hermano.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, if I recall correctly, Nicolás was doing an internship on the research team, on the buy-side research team on Credicorp Capital. He was very well regarded. So, pretty sure you have nice contacts from there. Thank you, Danita. Next up, I have Diani, and thank you for being elected as class rep. I'm pretty sure you'll do a good job, and you can introduce yourself now.
Hi, Gonzalo. Well, my name is Diani or Alexandra. You can call me whatever you want, but I usually prefer Alexandra because it's easier, but you can choose, or everyone can call me whatever you want, so it's okay. I use that both names, so it's fine. I'm in the this is my last cycle, so I'm not working currently. I used to work, my last job was in corporate finance, and I'm looking at a job in that area, so I'm interested in that. And well, that's everything. Thank you.
And do you want more like the consulting branch of it, the M&A side of it, or
yeah? I think that I'm fine. I like the management thing and the administration and the management. That's my area, I think.
Okay, great. Next up, I have Diego Sanchez.
Hey Gonzalo, my name is Diego Alonso. Well, yes, obviously Diego Alonso. I prefer, you can call me well as whatever you want, but I love the people to call me Diego Alonso. You want me two names?
Okay.
Now I'm working in BCP in the area of estudios económicos. Well, my career is finance. It's finance, but when
that's a good team.
Yes, the people that are here, like very clever, very intelligent, and also very kindful. But I remember, for example, that year that I was applying for Alicor, BCP, and another company, Apoyo. And the first company that called me was BCP, and that's the reason that I chose them. But they're very incredible people. And also, I decided to work there because I want to dedicate the whole of my life in finance. I don't know what branch, I'm very keen on. I love to look at the figures, for example, in the case of corporate finance, company valuations, M&A. But I also want to do maybe in the future an internship in asset management because I maybe, well, I would like to do that. But if I have no experience in an internship, I couldn't, well, think if it can be suitable for me. So that's the reason that I want to, for example, in this, I'm now in the middle of career to explore different things in order to, when I finish my career, decide, okay, I'm going to go here to this company or to another company.
Okay, great. So guys, generally a good tip for doing an internship or getting a job without any prior experience into that area or slash branch, be passionate. Be passionate about it. Do your own individual research of it, and interviewers and the people working there will see that. And if you have that hunger for knowing more, for getting better at it, you'll probably get selected. So thank you, Diego Alonso. Next I have Gabriel or Fernando.
Hi, Gonzalo. You can call me Gabriel.
Okay.
Also, any of my partners can call me Gabriel if they want. And because actually Fernando is the name of my father, so I prefer Gabriel, obviously. I'm in, well, 8th grade. I literally just started, actually. This was my first day of work.
Mm-hmm.
I have just entered the pricing area in pricing department in PCP. So yeah, well, in the branches of finance that I'm interested in, essentially are investments, more focused here, talking about investment risk. So it's a field I very competitive. I'm actually very interested in quantitative methods in finance. Yes, like topics or aspects about quantitative finance, um, financial engineering, mathematical finance are of interest. So I'm investigating about masters I could take of the practice.
Gabriel, so can you pause 1 second? I'm going to log out and log in because there's a sound that's bothering me right now.
Okay.
Okay, so Gabriel, you were saying that you wanted to do probably a master's in financial engineering.
Yes. Well, financial engineering is purely about derivatives products and their pricing. So maybe
It is not only about it, but I can see how it's mostly known for it, but it's not, and it really, in the last few years, it's not where it's headed. It's mostly headed towards machine learning and AI introduction into trading, into modeling, into research, and into various branches of finance.
Oh, well, that's actually kind of nice because I was not too much into derivatives, so it's good to know.
So a few things that might interest you is, for example, Google CQF. It's something like akin to CFA, but it's the charter for quantitative finance. I wouldn't
Yeah.
suggest you do it now because it's very expensive. It's around $20,000, but
But
you can
for
get the
us,
resources.
like for emergent countries.
Oh yeah,
like
for
10.
for us, for people countries, it's half. It's 10,000.
Yes.
And you can get a scholarship, which deducts a little bit more.
Thank you, Gonzalo.
No.
Well, I think that's it.
No problem. So after Gabriel, I have Josué.
Hola Gonzalo, ¿me puedes escuchar?
Yep. Down here.
Bueno, soy Josué Melo, estudiante de finanzas, este es mi último ciclo. Tuve experiencia de un año en finanzas corporativas y luego este último año he estado en una SAF, en un fondo, y he estado en el área de operaciones y tesorería, pero creo que aún no he sentado cabeza en qué rama quiero dedicarme el resto y quería dar un salto más a un área de investments. Y mis objetivos son, bueno, graduarme el ciclo y llegar a dar el CFA, el Level 1, que es de agosto. Y creo que eso resume brevemente.
Those are good objectives, especially the one of graduating. I think that should be on everyone's mind. But CFA level 1, that's something we haven't touched base on. So I am very supporting of the idea of doing CFA level 1 before graduating if you can. And you guys in the finance career have one course that basically prepares you for it. It's doing exams all day to practice. And I would suggest strongly that once you're taking that course, you do the CFA level 1. CFA level 2 it's tougher, and it does require you having graduating, so you do need to first do that. But CFA level 1, even if it's a commodity in Peru, outside it ain't. So if you want to undertake a career into the investing world, the CFA is very good for it to make you get some opportunities or get you in some rooms that you might not be able to before. For people that want to work in the private business side of it, say private equity, any alternative assets things, real estate, I would suggest doing, if you do not want to do the CFA, or if you want to do it aside the CFA, doing the KAYA. So that's the alternative investing one. And it's pretty well regarded in the last few years.
Okay,
But yeah,
gracias por tus consejos, Gonzalo.
No problem, Josué. Next one I have Juan Ricardo. And am I wrong into assuming that you recently won the Maes Prize award?
I would like to, but it's not me. So.
Okay. Sorry, I probably was mistaken.
Hi, Gonzalo. My name is Ricardo Ayo. I prefer you to call me by Ricardo. I'm also a finance student. I'm currently working as a research intern at Prima FP.
Huh.
I would love to make.
Who's your analyst, or do you support everyone?
I support around 4 to 5 analysts.
Okay, so everyone.
Yeah. I do like everything from all of them. So yeah.
Okay. It's a very good team.
Yeah.
Do learn from all of them.
I mean, I just started like two months ago, So I'm still learning how the team works. They are every day they are giving me more and more things to do. But obviously, as is my first internship, then I'm learning like every day. So and they're really nice guys. So really young. So that is good. Well, I would love to make a career in investment banking. I really find attractive the M&A part of it. But yeah, yeah, basically that I would like to, but every area of investment banking, I will be really pleased to love to be in one of those positions.
Great. So this might be a very controversial take that I have. There is not one single business in Peru that does well investment banking. Local. There are some that are businesses from offshore that do investment banking over here that are pretty good. So Credit Suisse is one. Goldman just opened an office, I think, at the start of the pandemic or just before. I think JP Morgan migrated all their offices to Colombia. And there's one that I'm missing. And Citibank. Citibank is pretty good at investment banking over here. But the local banks might be well suited for training, but I don't see much future on them. Unless you do want to stay doing local deals. That's how it works. On other countries on LATAM, there are very good IB offices though. So if you go to Colombia, if you go to Chile, if you go to Brazil, Mexico, they have amazing IB shops that you might want to undertake. And never, this goes for every single Universidad de Pacífico graduate, don't measure yourself against your locals. Your competition is not somebody that graduates from another university here. Your competition is the world. So do measure yourself against what somebody that just exited, I don't know, NYU might have. And that's basically your benchmark. If you are able to surpass that, then go. Eat the world. It's yours. If you currently do not, think introspectively, what do I need to surpass this barrier? And thank you, Juan. I'm probably mumbled a little bit more than I should have over there. And next I have Mateus Jesus.
But Gonzalo, it's
Yep.
it's actually true. I mean, I'm not aiming to work here actually. As Josue, well, I finished my career this at the end of this year, and also I'm pursuing one of my goals. Well, apart besides from graduating, is to take the November CFA level 1. And last semester I did exchange student semester in Mexico at Tecnológico Monterrey. I don't know if you know the university. And obviously, one of my main goals was to make those contacts. So hopefully, at the start of the next year, I can immigrate to Mexico, working as an investment banker there. So yeah, I'm not aiming to stay here in Peru.
Great. Do take into consideration one thing, and this goes for anyone pursuing IB. You will have a higher wage / salary than your other peers. You will also work 1.5 to twice the amount of hours. It is a great experience. You'll learn a lot about several businesses on several industries, and it's there is a debate on if you want to be a generalist or if you want to specialize in some subsector. But IB is a great stepping ladder for private equity after. So that's usually what most people do. Not a lot of people do stay into investment banking all throughout their life because it can be burning for your mind and soul. But it's a great learning experience. I've been told. I've never been to IB. But thanks, Juan Ricardo. Next I have Mateus Jesus. Or maybe we don't have Mateus Jesus. Oh, okay. All right. Let me check. Or Yori. Okay. So Yori is your last name, I imagine, right? So you want IB or CF, US or Swiss. Okay, great. Thank you, Yori. Yori sounds easier, so I'm calling you Yori. And last but not least, we have Minelli.
Yeah.
Like
here.
Liza Minnelli, but with the name instead of the last name.
Yes. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, so my name is Minelli. Studying finance. To be honest, I'm not sure in which area I want to work, but now I'm interested in corporate finance, but I'm not working. So the next cycle, I would like to look for a job.
Mm-hmm. Have you done your first internship or not yet?
Oh yeah, the next the next semester.
So for everyone that doesn't have their first internship yet, a lot of people are really moving these last few months. So a lot of job opportunities might arise. We are not really into hiring season, but more close to towards June, July, you'll see a lot of hiring slash recruitment going on, and you might want to probably jump on that bandwagon. And yeah, that's it. Thank you everyone for their introductions. Next thing, I'm going to present the syllabus, and you've probably already gone through this with Jesus. I'm just going to focus on 2 to 3 things. So share. There's now a share button in Teams. There didn't used to be one. Okay, so let's see. In terms of topics, what are you guys going to learn on this course? So besides the general labels of Monte Carlo, stationarity, and so forth, what we are going to see are 2 things. So number 1, we are going to analyze time series. And number 2, we're going to use those time series to develop concepts and conclusions and insights about risk and investing. You're going to see both with Jesus and I. We both have a bias towards one or the other, right? There's going to be more strong suits with Jesus. There are going to be more strong suits with me, depending on the topic. And we are going to see different applications with Jesus and with me. But the general topics are the same. So first, we're going to understand what's a time series and how to analyze it. Then we are going to see its applications. So volatility modeling, portfolio optimization, factor theory. I'm going to propping some investment selection into this. Risk management and back testing. This is going to be mainly Jesus, but with me, how are these risk metrics going to help you with investing? And then investment topics, we delve into these 2, but a little bit deeper into some subtopics. You're going to have tests, yes. You're going to have the midterm and the final with Jesus. And you're going to have 3 tests with me. Those tests will be broken down into 2 each one of them. There's going to be a part done in class, and there's going to be a part that's going to be a take-home test. The part in class is going to be done individually. The test side of it at home, it's going to be done in groups. Now, how many people do we have on the class? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So I think it's 31. So tentatively, groups are going to be 4 people, tentatively. We might switch it around. If you can, Alexandra / Diani, do gather the intentions of people to whom they want to partner with, and we'll see how we can finally split it out. And there's going to be 3 of them, so 3 tests. After the 3 tests, and probably the biggest and the most weighting task that you need to do is going to be the group project. So the group project consists in one thing. You're going to be given the task of creating a fund. For that, it must be a quantitative fund. And what do I mean by quantitative fund? It must be a systematic strategy. So the fund must trade for itself. It must make decisions on itself. And everything must be done by your code. It's very, very open into what can you do. But at the end of it, you're going to pitch, so like a roadshow, you're going to pitch your fund for potential investors. Now, who are those potential investors going to be? What I usually do is invite people from the market to basically see and either decide to invest or not invest into you and to give you feedback. Those people can come from pension funds. Those people can come from family offices. Those people can come from private banks, etc. So you're going to get feedback from people that might be your potential employers later on, and 2, you get exposure. Now, if you get good exposure, that's great for you, because you might get a very highly represented reference, or 2, you might even get hired by them. There have been, I would say, at least 2 people per semester that get hired because of those presentations. And that's basically it. So Vianney did ask me about the first test. The first test is not going to be the week that it's over here in the calendar. We're going to have 3 tutorials, and then you're going to have your first test. So before your midterm, I believe there's only going to be 1 test. If I have the dates correct on my head, I think there's only going to be 1 before the midterm. I'll confirm that later on. So that's basically it for the syllabus and for grading. Do you have any question about it?
Gonzalo, cuando dices
Yep.
3 PDs, quiere decir, esta no, o sea, 3 PDs, esta contaría
including
como
this one. Yeah, including this one.
Y mañana, lo que pasa es que como mañana hay otra, son 2, y el lunes hay un workshop.
Yeah, the workshop doesn't count as tutorial.
Ah, ok. O sea, sería uno hoy día y mañana es la segunda y el siguiente sábado la tercera. Okay.
Exactly.
What is the workshop about?
What is the workshop about? So the workshop is about, a lot of you guys know Excel, and I just was about to ask you, how well do you know R? And the workshop is basically a lot of things that one does in Excel. How do you do it in R? And how are we going to use it onto our purposes? So the workshop is titled Going from Excel to R. Diego Alonso.
Yes, Gonzalo, I have a question. For example, in the case that in 2 weeks, I think that is Holy Week, in that case, we are not going to have classes in this week?
So Easter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we are not going to have classes on Easter.
Okay, so the first exam is the next week for Easter, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Gonzalo, I'm sorry. So
yeah, Minoli.
I don't understand the tutorial. So we are going to have just 3 tutorials?
3 tutorials before the test, number 1.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, not 3 tutorials at the whole course, no.
So Gonzalo, the exam will be the 16th of April. April 16th then.
So, when's Easter? That's a great question.
El 16, justo cuando el 14, 15 y 16.
Okay, so if Easter falls on the 16th, then we cannot do it on the 16th. Unless there's classes. So I have to ask Sarah about it. But if we are allowed to have classes on the 16th, the test number 1 is on the 16th. If not, it's going to be on the 23rd.
Okay.
But the topics will be just the 3 or?
So that's one thing that so that's the one thing that I should put a disclaimer on. The test, every single time there is a test, it'll take every single tutorial you've done with me and every single class you've done with Jesus up to that point. So every single test is retroactively comprehensive. So test number 1 will be every single class you've taken up to that point and every single tutorial you've taken up to that point. Test number 2 is not going to be the stuff from test number 1 to test number 2. It's going to be stuff from tutorials 1 all the way to test number 2, and all the classes from class 1 all the way to test number 2. Does that clear it out, Ricardo?
Yes. The individual part of the exam will be like 50-50 or will be like different?
It changes from test to test.
Okay. Thank you.
There's no standardized split between the take-home and the class part of the test.
Gonzalo, I have another question. Do you think that you can put in Blackboard the past exam space?
I cannot.
Why?
Because exams are open, so there's not a solution. So it's more cases stuff, especially the later part of the course. Thus, every single solution can be different because it depends on each one of you guys. You will be able to solve every single exam with what you've been taught in the course and what it's expected from you guys. Just so you know, usually I don't grade low, although I'm strict. What does that mean? So usually what happens, and this is just historically based, people do fail the first exam or the first two very, very badly, and then they realize how they actually should perform, and they do very, very well on the later part of the course. Some classes do realize it before than others, and usually it balances out. But the average grade that people come out of this class with is above 13, so it's not low. It basically rounds up on how they manage to pick up the pace. So what I usually ask you guys on tests is not going to be solved by doing a bunch of exercises. It's not going to be solved by doing by checking the prior exam. It's going to be solved by you guys thinking on the spot. It's going to be solved by you guys realizing what's being asked and putting on all your prior experience from different courses on it. So that's basically it. Okay, so my recommendation to get a good mark at the end of the course is, number one, read very thoroughly the instructions, and number two, every single time that I mention a topic or that I point you guys to an external resource, do practice it, do read it, and you'll be very well prepared for anything I provide you. And never forget what you've done before in the career. Because, say an example of one thing that I asked. I once asked for, I believe it was test one, to make me some cash flow projections on a corporate finance example. And you had to develop a function with several inputs, draw the cash flows and do some calculations. But in order to do that, you need to still remember how to do cash flows and how to calculate an NAV and etc. So those are the kind of things that you need to keep on your mind with. I don't know if there is any further question about that. I forgot what I was going for. Yeah. So, yeah, I remember now. What is your level at R? And since we're a small group right now, I know that a lot of you have taken applied statistics, and now R is being taught at applied statistics. So has everyone currently present used R before, being in a course or being by yourself? Okay, so Minelli hasn't. Has anyone else not used R before?
I just use it in the course.
Oh yeah, but I mean, never even opened it before. Okay, so Diani hasn't. Right?
Yo estudié un poco, pero no llevé el curso de R, pero sí sé cómo funciona porque sí lo revisé, pero no es como que lo manejo.
Okay, so I posted on. So let's go to. I'm going to show my screen. Let's go towards the Blackboard. Okay. So in Blackboard, you're going to see these folders. On tutorials, of course, I'm going to be posting the tutorials. On workshops, I'm going to be posting the workshops. There's going to be, so first of all, there is a file called R installing guide over here in tutorial 1 that everyone should already have R and RStudio installed in their computer. Next, external resources. An introduction to R is a book, and most resources in R are books because R came from an academic background versus, say, Python that came from the industry. Our introduction is a very technical book. You look at this thing with caution. I wouldn't suggest you start with this. I would suggest you start with the Bible. So the Bible is R for data science. R for data science will give you everything you need to know about the basics in R. And how do you manage data? How can you see data? How do you do some analysis? So this book is a must read. For everyone that prefers Spanish, I've linked a Spanish version of the book. I believe it's not the latest update of the book, but like 97% of it. So this is the Bible for you guys. You can probably chuck through this in a weekend. Then, data visualization and introduction. You'll see that I'm very picky about how you guys present results. And every single good data visualization is bonus points for you guys in my book. So be sure that everything that you present to me is like you would present to an investment committee or a board of directors at a company. So this will let you know how to make data good looking and how to actually do some plots. The most popular and easiest to use package to plot is called ggplot, and knowing how the syntaxis works with it is very important. This is just a chart that tells you, it's at the bottom, I believe. So somewhere around here there's a chart. Okay, here it is. This is basically how can you plot different types of data with different types of plots. So say when you want to represent deviations, you can use these type of plots. When you want to represent correlation, you can use these ones, and so forth. This one. When you want to represent ranking, this one, for example, I love it. Bump, so you can represent changing rankings in time. Distributions, changes over time, magnitude, part to whole. So this is the only way that a pie chart is useful, for example. Also maps. And there's one more that's networks, some flows. Then there's these two. R Markdown Cookbook will let you know how to work with R Markdown. That's basically how to do reports in R. And this one is going to be very, very useful for when we are analyzing time series. So this has a lot on time series analysis and on time series visualization. We're going to do forecasting a lot. We're going to do modeling a lot on time series. And you have the second edition and the third edition. The third edition is not yet complete, so I would suggest that you do use as your base the second edition, and as curiosity you can use the third, or maybe it might be complete by now, but I think last year it wasn't. And that's the external resources folder. Right now we have about 40 minutes, and we are going to start with doing some introduction to R. I'm going to present our studio to you guys, and we're going to start with some simple operations and simple functions and commands. Before that, any questions? Okay, so let me open R. This should already be posted on Blackboard, so I'm going to be opening the R introduction file. Okay, have a lot of files open right now, so let me just open one more. Open with our studio. Okay, so there's something. We have to choose the members of our groups. Yes. Oh, something I forgot to mention. So the take-home part of the test is going to be in smaller groups than the group project. The group project is going to be probably like 7 people per group, and the take-home part of the test is going to be less, so like 4, something like that, or max 5. So yeah, you have to choose your groups. Right, so I'm going, yeah.
Pregunta.
The what?
No, está bien, hemos hablado. Entonces, ¿de cuántos iba a ser el test y de cuántos el proyecto?
So, I think you guys are like 31 to 32. The take-home part of the test is going to be 4 to 5, and the group project is going to be, so if you're 32, 7 and 8 works. Actually, 8 works very well if you're 32. So let's do 7 and 8 for the group project. And 4 to 5 for the other.
¿Y los grupos para el examen se van a cambiar o van a ser los mismos siempre?
That depends on you guys entirely. If you guys don't have any internal fights, you can keep them. If I receive a report that there are free riders, you are very well in your power to kick them out. So yeah, that's, I don't know if that answers your question.
Sí, gracias.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, it's always good to hear. So I'm going to share my screen on our studio. Now I'm going to do 2 things right now. Black is a great color to work. It's not a great color for presenting. So I'm going to change it to Chrome. Here's Chrome. Here's Chrome. And I'm going to increase the font size for you guys. Precaution. All right, so this is our studio. When you don't have any window open, this is what you'll see. Probably on different sites, this is how I have mine ordered. What do we have over here? I believe console is over here by default and environment is at the right by default. But what does anything of this mean? Console. Over here you can type commands and they will execute it in your console. Then you have files, everything that's in your current navigating folder. Plots, this is where your graph stuff. Packages, we'll talk later about packages, but this is everything. Like, there are a set of functions that you can use whenever you want. The ones that have checks on it are the ones loaded at the moment. Help, this is your dictionary for everything that you need to search. Viewer, just like plots, this is where you see images. This is where you see interactive objects, such as web pages and any type of other interactive object. Console, I already explained. Terminal, when you're running code in the computer, this is called CMD. You can type it in a terminal. You have it handy over here. Jobs, you will probably never use this. Environment, this is where your objects get saved. History, this is what you've run. I'm going to delete this. Connections, this is how you connect to databases. I don't know if you'll use this. And then there's tutorials. There are a lot of tutorials for different packages. This one, for example, is one of my favorite packages to graph. It's called eCharts for R. It's a package that allows you to do interactive plots in R, and it is very visually appealing. So I really like it. And there is basically, you can jump and go and test some functions in a tutorial, and it's very easy going. So anytime you want to check one of it, you can see this is how an eCharts object looks. Like you can see, it's interactive. And there are a lot for different packages. And you can see some other functions and so forth. Let's go back to this. Let's go actually back to this. R. This is like your script window. So how do you create one? You go to new file, you go to R script, or you go Ctrl-Shift-N, or you go to this first blast topic and you put R script. You will use R script a lot. You'll probably use R Markdown a lot. I would love if you learn to use Shiny Web App, but it's not required. You can also do programming on other languages over here. V3 is for JavaScript. Python is always for Python, C++, etc. SQL, or like some people call it SQL, is of course it's SQL. You can do presentations like PowerPoint presentations that are interactive, and other types of documents. So you can write stuff over here. We can also write it on the console. We get the same result. So let's start with something simple, 1 + 1. We write 1 + 1 and then press enter, and we get a result. Now, nobody's surprised that 1 + 1 is 2. But what you can be surprised is this bracketed 1. What does this mean? This means that this is a vector, and this is starting on the first element of the vector. Unlike other languages, like say Python, R starts counting as 1 because it's logical. Other object-oriented languages do start at 0 for some reason. Let's not get leaning on that, but R starts at 1. What is the difference between writing here and writing over here? Here you can keep it. Here you do not. If I delete my console, it's gone. 3 + 4, so obviously 7. And any result is shown on the console, but still the code underlying stays over here. How did I execute it? Because on the console, I just press enter. On my script, if I press enter, I go to the next line. How do you execute it? You press Ctrl plus Enter. Plus 12, 18. So an space does not change your result. It does make it much more ordered. So if you can use spaces, please do. 5 plus 5, so obviously 10. You can do subtraction, do multiplication, you can do division, and it respects PMDAS. So parentheses, multiplications, divisions, additions, subtractions. This is how operations work. Exponentiation. Modulo operator. What is the modulo operator? So for people that have used Excel, this is the function residue or residue in Spanish. So what this does is it divides 28 by 6, and then the fractional part of it, it tells you how many integer numbers you have. So what is the closest integer divisor of 6 next to 28? It's 24, right? So how many integers do you need to go from 24 to 28? It's 4. So modulo of these two is 4. How is this useful? It's very, very useful when you want to know when a number is even or is odd. So if it's even, the modulo of 2 is going to be 0. If it's odd, the modulo is going to be 1. Assigning values. So how do you assign values? You use this operator. This is hard to type. How do I enter it? You press Alt and dash. And you can quickly enter that operator. Gonzalo, can I use x equals 42? Yes, you can. You will not use it. Why you will not use it? Because equals is better to use inside functions. You can use it to assign, but it's not suggested because it might bug your code when you're doing something more complex. Then once you've saved something to an object, you can easily type that object name, in this case x, and run it. X means 42. Now you can see something. When I did equals, I typed a capital X, and then I have a lowercase x over here, and it's saved different. R is a case sensitive language. Lowercase is not the same as uppercase. Okay, so be mindful of that. You, of course, can use stuff that is not just one letter. So say my apples. Now my apples is 5. You can use stuff with spaces. Please do not. That is a very easy way to get some errors in your code. Do use contiguous stuff. I like camel case. What does camel case mean? It means that the next word is capitalized. You can also use snake case, which means doing this underscore. So snake case. A lot of people on snake case do not capitalize stuff, but there are several conventions. So again, once you save something, you can use it as a perfect replacement of it. You can do operations with your variables. You can do operations with your variables and save that to another variable. So say now my fruit is 11. I don't know why that took a while to operate. Okay, now There are several types of data, of values. So the first type is a numeric. So numeric is a number, right? Second one is a character. So character means text. We use quotes to define text. Next one are logicals. So logicals are true or false. So you have numerics, characters, logicals. First function that we are going to see, first of many, class. Every single type of function is the function, parentheses, and its arguments. In this case, the only argument that we're going to give class is the object that it's going to analyze. In this case, the object is my numeric. So what class is going to do, and if we want to check what a function does, we just type question mark and the function name, and we are going to get here a description and its uses. But I'm going to tell you. So class is going to give me the type of class my object is. We've already seen the 3 types of classes, the main ones at least. So my numeric is going to be a numeric, my character is going to be a character, and my logical is going to be a logical. And there are other types of classes that we're going to see later on. These are the types of values that are inside R. All right? Any questions so far? Nothing? Okay, let's go to the next type of object, vectors. So vectors are amalgamation of values. So a numbers vector is a series of numbers. A character vectors is a series of characters. A Boolean vector is a series of logicals. So we're going to use an example, because you guys are this is going to be a terrible stereotype, because you guys are from finance, you like gambling. So we're going to take, for example, a trip to Las Vegas. So a trip to Las Vegas, you played poker, you played roulette, you went from Monday to Friday, and you're trying to analyze your winnings. So these are your winnings each day from Monday to Friday on poker. These are your winnings each day from Monday to Friday on the roulette. Now, you cannot see that to separate items, I use a comma, and the function that I'm using to create the vector is called C. What the C mean is concatenate, something akin to what you've seen on Excel to concatenate text. You can also use it over here. So we're going to use another function right now. It's called names. Names of our vector. So names of our vector currently is empty, it's null. However, we are going to assign it another vector. Basically, what we're doing is we're going to be labeling our poker vector and our roulette vector. So now, if I run my poker vector, I have my winnings, and now it's labeled, so it's easier to read. I can do the same for roulette vector and check that it's labeled. Now, it's not very convenient to write this stuff twice. So what we're going to do is assign that to another vector. So this vector is going to be this. And now we're just going to assign this vector. It's much easier to read, right? So again, we can check that still yields the same result. What else can we do? We can do operations with vectors. So we have an A vector and a B vector. We have the A vector of 1, 2, 3. B vector is 4, 3, 6, 4, 5, 6. And you remember from maths how to sum vectors. The result of the sum of this, what will it be? Say, then it's
the addition of each of the elements.
So what is the result in numbers?
5, 7, and 9.
Exactly. So total vector is 5, 7, and 9 because vectors get summed like this. What else? We can also do this example on how much we won every single day. So summing our winnings from poker and winnings from roulette. That's total daily. Right? We can also use a function to know how much we won during the week. So the next function that we're going to introduce is sum. So sum is basically just a sum of our vector. Sums every single element of our vector. So how much did we win in poker? $230. How much did we win on roulette? We did not have a good streak on roulette, so we went under 314. How much did we win on our trip to Las Vegas? We sum both of them, and we get minus 84. Let's use logical comparator, our first one. So we're going to check if total poker is greater than total roulette. We already know the answer, right? Total poker is 230. Total roulette is minus 314. So total poker is definitely higher than total roulette. So what this will give us is either a true or a false statement. We get it true. That's what we are expecting. Now we're going to see how to subset a vector. What does subset a vector mean? It means that we are taking parts of our vector and separating. So Wednesday. If we check our poker vector is Monday through Friday. So which one is Wednesday? Wednesday is the third position. So we can do these brackets and put 3. What this means is that we are going to get just the third position of our vector. And this is Wednesday. How else can we do it? So notice that we labeled our vector. So not only can we use positions, we can use a label. That's right after, right? Oh, where is it? Okay, here is it. So we can also use poker vector. Let's see our brackets. Instead of writing 3, we can write Wednesday. We are going to get the same thing. Now, you can also do more than one. We can do a vector inside of the subset. So 2, 3, and 4, we're going to get Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You can also do another type of vector, which means from 2 to 5. If I do 1 to 50, I'm going to get every single number from 1 to 50. So you can imagine this is 2, 3, 4, 5. And you get roulette selection vector. Again, you can also do multiple names since our vectors are labeled. So here we get Monday through Wednesday, and we get 3 of them. Let's say, on average, how much did we win at poker these 3 days? So we can use the function mean. Okay, I'm going a little bit fast, guys, because I'm pretty sure that most of you guys already know most of this. So if you have any questions, please interrupt me. We can also use logical vector in order to subset. And if we use a logical vector, we're only going to get the true ones in the selection. So poker vector from Tuesday through Thursday, which one of them was a winning night? So our selection vector is false, true, false. So once we use that to subset, we are going to get only the true one. So in this case, only Wednesday. Right. In this case, we're going to get Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay. Is that true? Yes, it's true. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All right. We can do the same thing on the roulette. Which days did we win on the roulette? Wednesday and Friday. So those are vectors. An evolution, the 2D version of a vector, is called a matrix. How do we create a matrix? We use the matrix function. We give it the data, and the next parts are how do we want to make the dimensions of our matrix. So this one says n row 3, and our data is going to be filled by row. So first you fill the first row, then the second one, then the third one. Then we get 3 columns, and let's make our calculate how many rows it needs. We can specify the number of columns and the number of rows. And this one, put it into 2 rows, you calculate how many columns you want. So how does this work? By row, it's going to put it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The normal way of putting it is by columns. Yield the same result. And if we force it to have 2 rows, it's going to get us a warning. Why? Because by having 2 rows, the number of data points that we have is not subsettable by 2. So it needs to start repeating. In this case, it's going to repeat only 1 because once you get to 10, it is divisible by 2. So you get your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It ends our data, so it needs to start again, 1. All right. This example is going to be for Star Wars. And let me just have a sip of water before. All right. So I'm going to make some vectors. These are the box office numbers in millions for the first 3 movies that came out of Star Wars. We're going to merge those vectors. Now, this is not really understandable, right? It will be once we get it into a matrix. We're going to put it into a by row format. So these 2 first, then these 2, then these 2. And now we have a matrix. But if you show this to anybody that doesn't have the context, it won't understand a thing. So we're going to label our matrix. We're going to get our labels. So first a vector that says region and a vector that says titles. Just like we had the names for vectors, we now have 2 dimensions. So there's call names and there's row names. So we're going to assign regions to call names. So now we know that this is the box office for US and this is the box office for non-US release. Row names. Now, if you show this to somebody, they have more context, right? We are going to do some operations. So, first of all, how much our movies made worldwide? So to get worldwide, we need to sum US and non-US. How can we do that? Row sums. Sums the rows. So this is how each one of them made worldwide. We can do the same for each region. So instead of row sums, we can use col sums. And we get US and US. Okay. Now we're going to get that total one into our matrix as well. We're also going to get a new matrix for the prequels. So Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. We want only one matrix, so we want to stack one with the other. How do we do that? We can use, just like we use col-bind to get that third column, to get more rows, we can use row-bind, r-bind. We get our two matrices, and now we have a big matrix with the first 6 movies of Star Wars. Out of all of those, we can get the whole revenue of it. This is how the franchise made on the first 6 movies in terms of millions of dollars. We can also do subsetting. Now, matrices have 2 dimensions, so we need to specify which rows and which columns do we want. If we don't put anything, it assumes that we want all of them. So in this case, we want all the rows and the second column. What does that mean? So all the rows. The second column means non-US revenue. So non-US is just the non-US ones. So in average, how much did a Star Wars movie on the first 6 releases earn offshore? 350 million. So to select non-US and the first 2 movies, we can do 1 to 2 and the second column and get the average of those, 281. Now you can argue that this is because of inflation, or maybe the franchise got more popular. You can get a lot of insights with this. Now we can estimate the number of visitors. So on average, a ticket to the movies historically is $5. So we can divide the revenue numbers by 5 and get the visitors in millions. So notice that we are dividing a matrix by a number. So it's going to divide each one of these entries by 5. So this is the estimated amount of visitors in millions per movie. Okay. I'm going to skip factors, and you guys are going to see factors on your own. It's very, very useful when you are doing plotting and you want to reorder your categories and stuff. I'm going to get into directly data frames. So data frames are probably the most used object in R. They work something like matrices. However, they can hold several types of data values instead of just one. So matrices can only hold numericals, or can only hold logicals, or can only hold characters. Data frames can hold everything per column. So each column has a different data type. In this case, all of them are numerical. And these are row names in this case. They are not a column. Now, they have different names. So instead of rows and columns, they are called variables. So columns are called variables, and each line, each row is called an observation, right? First function that we're going to see is head. So head takes the first 6 rows by default and shows us the first 6 rows, because most times we do not want to see every single row, right? We just want to check the first ones or the last ones. So check the last ones, instead of head, we can use tail. And by default, it's 6. You can edit this with more arguments if you check the help on this. The second argument is n. So n means how many rows you want to see. If you just want to see one, anti-cars, you can put 1, and this is a comma. This is just the first row. Okay. Next function is structure. So structural tells me what am I looking at. I'm looking at a data frame, how many observations, how many variables, and it outlines each one of my variables. So in this case, all of them are numerical, and these are the names. Why does it give me this dollar symbol? It doesn't mean because we'll win money. It means because the way I can access that column is by doing that symbol. So we can enter that variable by doing this. Okay. Now we're going to create our own. We're going to create a data frame about planets. How do we create a data frame? We use the function data frame. Very hard, I know. And the arguments that we're going to use are the vectors that we want to input into our data frame. So now we have our face data frame. Our first data frame tells us data about a planet, its type, its diameter in kilometers, in millions of kilometers, 1,000 probably kilometers, the rotation speed, and if it has rings or not. Now we can check the structure on it. It's going to tell us this is a character, this is a character, this is a numerical, and it is logical. We can subset row 1 and column 3 means Mercury. Column 3 is diameter. So this is the diameter of Mercury. All the data for Mars, 4th row, and you leave it blank for the rest. We can also subset it by names. First 5 rows and the whole diameter column. We can subset by name, again, all the rings column. We have a rings vector now. Now this rings vector can allow us to subset because it's a logical vector. So now we can select with it all the columns, all the rows, I mean, that have rings on its planets. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. You can also subset using the function subset. So you put your data frame over here and your condition. So everything that has a diameter less than 1. How can we do this the same, the way that we were doing it before? You can put the logical over here. This will yield you a numeric logical vector. So we can use that logical vector to subset the ones that have diameter less than 1, and we get the same result. Order. Order is a function that's very, very useful. And sort is basically the stepbrother of order. We can get a vector, 100, 10, and 1,000. Order is going to give us the position from lowest to highest. So this is the second lowest, this is the lowest, and this is the third lowest. So if we use that to subset, we can order any vector. We can also do it quicker with the function sort. So we can order our data frame by diameter. By using the function order, we get the positions. By using those positions into subsetting, we can get our data frame ordered by diameter from lowest to highest. All right. Then lastly, we have lists. Lists are basically like the Barney bag. You can put anything inside a list and it will take it. So you have a vector, you have a matrix, you have a data frame, and you can create a list using the function list. And you give it our objects. Now we have a list. So the first object in our list is our vector, the second is the matrix, and the third is the data frame. Here is an example of how to create another one, but the important thing that I want to outline over here is that you can also use, if it's labeled, because here we have it labeled, if it's labeled, you can use the dollar symbol. And once you get inside, you can treat it as anything, as the same thing. So over here we have a vector. If we want to keep subsetting this, we can, because it's a vector, and we use the same language that we've used with vectors. So second position will give us Shelley's wall. You can also add things to your vector with the C function. Here we have added this one. And that's generally the very, very basic part of R. Tomorrow, we have our second tutorial. We're going to look at some stuff on functions, and we are also going to start looking into time series. We're going to start time series. And that's it, guys. Do you have any questions before we close out the session? Are you guys alive? Okay, I'm going to imagine you're not. Okay, great. All right, so guys, that's going to be everything for today. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have get outs to get, so I'm going to release you right now. We'll see each other tomorrow at 9:30. Have a good one, good night, and see you tomorrow. Goodbye, guys.
Thanks, Gonzalo.
Gracias.
See you tomorrow.
Gracias.